October 2013, I was ready to move. I had purchased a home, I had made a plan, and I had assembled my tribe. I had learned a few things in my short time in Detroit. And one of the things I learned is that when it was time for someone to move, they either moved everything in one trip or ran the risk of having items stolen, damaged, destroyed, and even the house that they were moving out of set on fire. For what reason, I will never know. So move day's here. I'm really excited. I bought in my mind one of the top 10 most beautiful homes in the city of Detroit. I'll move in. As Christmas approaches that year, I really started to once again feel normal. Once again let my guard down. Enjoy my surroundings. Do the things I enjoyed to the home, which included restoring them. Ultralight was over. So I thought. Shortly after Christmas, I had received information from a neighbor that the reason my closing of this home had been postponed and pushed back was not because of scheduling issues, as the bank had told me, but was because a family, which consisted of a grandfather, his adult daughter, her infant child, another adolescent boy, as well as 4 other adults. None of these people were working. And the house they moved to was only next door. I was definitely shocked to find this out. And about that time, light happened. It wasn't a slow slide. It was a bam. Here I am. May I have another? So as squatters living next door, they were stealing electricity. They could not steal natural gas because the supply line had actually been dug up and removed. And they were stealing water from the city of Detroit. Now I understood the code. Snitches get stitches. Bitches end up in ditches. I understood, but I had no fear. What's right was right. And I wouldn't allow them to imprison me in my home. After 2 or 3 months DTE had finally removed enough of the wiring that they couldn't reattach short pieces of wire to reestablish their electric service. At this point, it required a much craftier resolution. So, a ladder was placed. A 32-foot aluminum ladder against the high tension power lines that run the alley and feed the transformers for our neighborhood. An incision was made on the casing cover. A cable wire was wrapped around several times and then extended to the home for the use of 110 electricity. Now this went on, as far as I know, October of 2013 until December of 2015. I made no less than 500 phone calls per year. And I will assume DTE made no less than 250 trips a year to that home to remove the illegal electrical connection. Most weeks this was a daily occurrence. The electricity would be hooked up approximately 9 p.m. that night. A call would be made. A work ticket would be generated. Usually 2 Detroit police cars and a DTE worker would arrive at this address. The police would knock on the doors. The DTE crew would be escorted to the backyard. And said repair would be removed, only to be replaced 4 to 5 hours later. Now the danger in all this came to me in the fact that they used the chain link fence that divided our yard as cover for a black wire hanging down the middle of the alley. So I was culturally shocked again. Shocked that DTE was at my house, turning off my electricity because my bill was 4 days late. I've been a customer of DTE at that time for in excess of 24 years. Never had late payment, never had a shut off. But they were in my driveway to remove my meter and disconnect my power because I was 4 days late on a bill and somehow a work order had been generated for my service to be disconnected. I continued to plead with city, all the way up to county officials. I sent dozens of emails to every office from the mayor down to my city councilman. I never received any reply, any response, any assistance. On one occasion, the ombudsman for the city returned a phone call, met me at my house, looked at my videos, was lucky enough to be here and see my neighbors act as my neighbors did. Looked me dead in my eyes and told me the best thing I could do was move. I think with those words, all the fight, all the anger, I had let go. Swole me and returned me to accept the fact that I would never move and I would pay any cost to stand my ground. Now, in about 2015, close to Christmas, as usual, I was working stiffs, arose, and noticed 6 state police cars on the cameras looking out over my front yard. I noticed 15 to 20 men in body armor with assault weapons. Assault weapons. Raiding the house. They took out the grandfather, an adult male I'd never seen before, and everyone else I mentioned was left in that home. Later that afternoon, at lunch, I decided to catch a little TV, and lo and behold, my neighbor, arrested for trafficking heroin from Detroit to Traverse City. Now, how this could be going on over a year, and the man has no electricity, not a running vehicle, no natural gas, and only stolen city water is amazing to me. See, it's a cultural thing again. It shocked me once again. Because I've never sold drugs. I've only sold my talents. And I've never been hungry. I've never been thirsty. And I've never been homeless. I assure you my talents are nowhere near as valuable to most people that are addicted to drugs as that drug would be. So I can't imagine a narcotics trafficker who would subject his adult daughter, his grandchild, obviously other children that are related to him, and adults, and live in those conditions. Now, he was usually wearing a $200 to $300 pair of shoes, and he was usually wearing in excess of $500 worth of clothing. But that's just the culture shock again. So by this time, I'd started to thank my lucky stars. At least this guy was gone. This piece of work. However, his adult daughter, several other adults, And by this time, 3 adolescent children continue to live in this house with only one change. Finally, that the grandfather had been arrested, the daughter reached out, and with some clever paperwork, turned a house she squatted in into a house that she was receiving mail at, and at least could have the electric and water restored. Gas wasn't an issue because the house had been vandalized and stripped by them many years previous. Then the fire came. Now, I assumed the grandfather was the breadwinner, and though there were many 20, 30-year-old men that would visit the home, none of them appeared to live there and or support any of the people living there. January 2017. I awoke to the sound of all the air being sucked out of a small space, I thought. Looked at the cameras, and at 4 a.m., the house next door had caught a fire. Now, I watched on camera as the young child exited the home. No adult was in the home. And only weeks before, an eviction notice had been placed on the home. That they would have a 6-year-old boy light a house on fire, possibly killing himself. Culture shock, to say the least. Now, I had information, full color video. And no one cared. No one cared. No one cared that these people had been allowed to torture me for an excess of 4 years. No one cared that, once again, my property, my possessions were systematically destroyed. No one cared but me. So, that's my sad story. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you'll come back. And I hope you have a good day.